The Year of Evolution, 1991. The scenic coastal town, Mangalore, was witness to a new era in the field of medical education. The Islamic Academy of Education, a non-profit trust committed to the upliftment of minorities, was established by the entrepreneur Mr. Yenapoya Abdullah Kunhi. Perceiving the potential prospective educational hub, he began the establishment of colleges with the principle of excellence in professional education, which flourished into a full-fledged university, providing training in medicine and all its parallel fields. Currently, Yenapoya is a dynasty of educational institutes like Yenapoya Dental College, Medical College, Nursing College, Physiotherapy College, Yenapoya Pharmacy College and Research Center, and Yenapoya Institute of Arts, Science, Commerce and Management were further established to offer education and research in the areas of pharmacy, management and general education. Yenapoya offers a plethora of courses with 89 ongoing and 20 approved and proposed programs. The PhD program has been introduced in 39 departments and research center as per the UGC regulations. The medical college also offers undergraduate courses in technical programs like medical lab technology, medical imaging technology, perfusion, renal dialysis, anesthesia and OT, cardiovascular technology, respiratory care, optometry, as well as hospital administration and others, to name a few. Students are presented with ample opportunities to find their niche. Spread over a sprawling 36.76-acre campus at Teralakatte, Mangaluru, all the constituent colleges are provided with excellent infrastructure to impart knowledge. Spacious examination halls and 19 lecture halls have the electronic support system to engage students eloquently. Practical training is complemented with well-equipped laboratories. The anatomy dissection hall introduces students to the intricacies of the human body before undertaking clinical examinations and procedures. Well-equipped pathology and biochemistry lab foster the importance of diagnostic procedures to implement treatment. The central laboratory is a key unit, conducts number of diagnostic and confirmatory tests. Many significant in vivo researches are conducted at the Animal House of Pharmacology lab. At the Nursing Nutrition lab, aspiring students learn to put together a nutritious meal for the benefit of their wards. Pre-clinical exercise at the Physiotherapy lab enhances clinical understanding. Dental simulators prepare students to handle clinical scenarios. The Simulation Center at Yenapoya is the largest in India and trains students in a virtual environment to mitigate errors and maintain safety. This includes a number of unique state-of-the-art facilities like Anatomed table simulating the human body, a number of high-fidelity simulators like infant, adolescent, adult, and maternal fetal simulators are housed here. Students seeking to further their knowledge can do so with CPR mannequins, endoscopy, laparoscopy trainers, cath lab and ultrasound trainers. The Simulation Center is a milestone aimed at perfecting the skills of trainees and delivering excellent treatment. Comprising of well-stocked central library, housing thousands of books, journals and publications, regularly updated via digital media, with 7 museums documenting various areas of health sciences. The Dental Museum being the most advanced, affirms Yenapoya is not just a university for the students, but a knowledge center. Students at Yenapoya acquire valuable experience during hands-on training at the medical college and hospital, with above 2,000 outpatients per day at OPD. A fully functional ICU, general wards, blood bank.
Is organizing a keynote address on quality education, accreditation, and teacher development. I, Dr. Shakira Musakuti, Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics, invite you all for the webinar and keynote address. Prayer is the key that opens us the treasure of God's mercy and blessings. I invite Dr. Junaid, Senior Lecturer of Public Health Industry, for the invocation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I kindly request Dr. Vidya Bhatt, Professor of Department of Prosthodontics and member of NDU and NFDC, for the welcome address.
Namaste and very good morning to all. Ancient India with its Gurukul system was providing education to all seekers. Then with the invasions and the British rule, education system was changed to suit the rulers. After independence too, there were efforts to implement policies on education. Last year in July 2020, the NEP or the new education policy was announced by the Indian government, and a lot of initiatives are being taken up to sensitize the population of India. Just 2 days ago, Karnataka was the first state to announce implementation of NEP in higher education from the current academic year. To know more about the policies, we must know it from the experts. In this regard, the Constitution has hosted this webinar titled Quality Education, Accreditation and Teacher Development. I would like to welcome you all to this program. Our resource person, Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai, Professor from Manipal Institute of Management. Welcome to our campus, sir. We are looking forward to hear from you.
Thank you very much.
Vice Chancellor, Dr. M. Vijay Kumar, sir, who has agreed to be the chief guest in spite of his very busy schedule. Welcome, sir. Dean of NFI Dental College, Dr. Akhtar Hussain, sir, has agreed to preside over the program. Welcome, sir. I also welcome our registrar, Dr. Gangadhar Somayaji, and the other statutory officers to this program. I welcome all the deans of the various constituent colleges of NOPIA, vice principals, and other senior faculty to today's program. Our eligible coordinator of NOPIA Dental Education Unit, Imran Pasha, has informed me that there are participants from more than 80 colleges in India. Welcome to you all for your enthusiastic participation. I also welcome all my colleagues, members of NOPIA Center, NOPIA Dental Education Unit, all the participants to this webinar. Hope all have a meaningful session today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With immense happiness, I invite Dr. M. Vijay Kumar, our dynamic Honorable Vice Chancellor, the chief guest for today's function, to address the attendees.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here for the program, which is going to be NEP 2020. As we all know, after a long gap, the new education program was introduced in 2020 by Government of India. But unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, it is very, very slow in getting implemented. And Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Ashwath Narayana, went on record saying the Karnataka was the first state to implement the NEP 2020 in India. We are being a part of Karnataka, and we have been talking about NEP 2020 from the time it got introduced. One important change I see as in NEP 2020 would be, to my own surprise, the universities are divided into three. One, academic universities, two, research universities, and the third, academic cum research universities. This sort of division, in fact, is little surprising to me, because calling something as purely research and not having any academic is one issue. And the second part is having academics and not having research at all. Some component of research and some component of academics should have been there in any university is what my personal feeling would be. But the NEP 2020 people would have gone much more in detail than one individual's thinking like mine before classifying them into three: academic, pure academic, and pure research, and academic cum research. Most of the time we do both, and so if permission is sought from us or choice is given to us, I know what we will choose. I'll know that we are not only pure academic, and research is a very important component for our university, and which is creating definitely ripples over others based on our research output. I do compliment all the organizing team members and the dental college for organizing such a program today, which will throw more light from the speakers who are much more into the NEP 2020 implementation. I'm very sure the people who are attending today as listeners and delegates are going to get more benefit out of those speakers. Before I conclude, I should congratulate the dental college for being ranked among top 20 in the country, which has been published recently. My compliments to all concerned, the principal, the vice principals, the HODs, the faculty, more importantly, the students. My congratulations and compliments for getting the rank in the top 20 in our country. I wish you all a great learning today, and I am sure this workshop will go a long distance in paving a way how to implement NEP 2020 rather than just talking and leaving it there. Thank you all. God bless. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your very encouraging, valid and apt point on NEP 2020. Now I'm happy to invite Dr. Akhtar Hussain, Dean of Yenapoya Dental College, for presidential address.
Good morning, distinguished dignitaries online on this program, our dynamic Vice Chancellor Dr. Vijay Kumar, Dr. Gangadhar Thomeyaji, our Registrar, Speaker of the Day, Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, then Dr. Imran, the Coordinator of Yenapoya Dental Unit, Dr. Vidya Bhatt, Dr. Vinita, the Vice Principals, Heads of Departments, faculty, postgraduates, participants from across the country, and I think a few from abroad too. Good morning to one and all. I'm happy that 480 registrations for this program. And as we all know, the only constant is change itself, which is necessary and good. The National Education Policy 2020 has been introduced at the right time to complement the process and vision of creating quality institutions, a culture of innovations, and a highly skilled workforce to attain certain level that can be compared to the likes of the best in the world. This is definitely a landmark change in our government, as 34-year-old policy is replaced with the new education policy of 2020 towards reduction in curriculum, technology education, changing the approach to teacher education, focusing on critical thinking and experimental learning, thus inculcating a holistic development with the vocational education. This is certainly a historic moment for all the stakeholders involved, that is teachers, students, as well as parents. Though it's intriguing to see how the norms of the policy will be implemented, it will definitely be a new age for the Indian education landscape. We have tried our best in our university too. Enthusiasm program with this has focused on overall development of the students in art, culture, and communication skills is already in place. And then Yenapoya Dental College in its efforts to establish the Yenapoya Dental Education Unit, which will work towards the holistic development with the interprofessional education as being the key focus. Also, the unit strives to improve the dental education in every possible way. I'm sure this is going to be a very enriching experience for all of us, and I wish all the best to all the deliberations to unfold. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. Vinita Bola to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning. It's indeed my pleasure to give the vote of thanks today. To begin with, I would like to thank our Honorable Chancellor, Mr. Y. Abdullah Kuni, for his unstinted support and encouragement. Our Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Mr. Farhad Yenapoya, for his constant motivation in all our endeavors. Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Dr. M. Vijayakumar, who was instrumental in supporting the initiative of Yenapoya Dental Education Unit by providing us with the necessary clearance for the establishment of this unit and supporting us in all our various initiatives. I thank you, sir. I would also like to thank our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Dr. B.H. Sripati Rao, for the necessary approval and encouragement while he was the principal of Yenapoya Dental College. I would also like to thank Dr. Gangadhar Somaiji, Registrar, for his constant encouragement and timely advices for the smooth conduct of the various activities. Our Dean, Dr. Akhtar Hussain, who is the Chairman of the Yenapoya Dental Education Unit, who has always given us the support, encouragement, and motivated us to conduct the programs and helping us in promoting this unit. I thank you, sir. A special thanks to Dr. Siraj Ali Mohammed, Director, FAMER Institute, Mahe, who is an advisor to this unit. I would like to thank Dr. Abhay Nurgade, sir, for his constant guidance, support, encouragement, and also believing in the unit to deliver its objectives. This program would not have been possible without our guest speaker, Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and being here today.
It's my pleasure.
I would also like to thank the Director, Dr. Shankaran, K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, NITTE, for being present today. I would like to thank all the heads of the departments, faculties, alumni, and the participants without whom this program would not have been possible. Finally, I thank all the core committee members, Dr. Junaid for handling all the registration, and Dr. Shakira for comparing this event. Thank you, one and all. I hope you all have a fruitful session ahead.
Next session is the keynote address by Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai. I invite Dr. Imran Pasha M., the reader of Public Health, Department of Public Health Dentistry and coordinator of Yenapoya Dental Education Unit, to introduce the speaker.
Warm good morning to each and everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to give the speaker introduction. Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai, sir, is being the professor at Manipal Institute of Management at Mahe, and he has served at various positions in Mahe University, and also has to his credit one textbook and many chapters in many of the national and the internationally reputed textbooks. Of around 7 of the textbooks he's authored. And also he has got more than 67 publications in various journals, both national and international. And he has done various national and international presentations. And he was also very instrumental in doing a lot of research with regard to the new education policy is concerned. And I know that sir has co-authored and has got many funded projects. With this short introduction, I do not want to take away the time. I would like to give more of time to our speaker of the day, Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai, sir. Sir, the program is for you to take it over from me. So I welcome you from the Yenapoya Dental College as well as the Yenapoya Dental Education Unit and Yenapoya deemed to be University for today's program.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the nice introduction. May I know whether my slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's indeed a pleasure to be invited to deliver the keynote address as part of their endeavor to ensure and reiterate the implementation of NEP 2020. Becoming a pioneer is always a pain as well as a pleasure. We call it a painful pleasure. I'm immensely thankful to Dr. Siraj, who conferred this opportunity to me to be part of this endeavor. So the topic that we are going to discuss today is quality education, accreditation, and teacher development. NEP 2020 has acknowledged, if we can have a glance to the page 31 of the document, the policymakers have identified scores of problems that our higher education system is experiencing. So that shows the abysmal state of quality. So with that background, the policy document has been scripted, a long, almost 3 years process, kept on public domain for 1 year for deliberation. After that, that was released last year, July. So still discussions are going on. If we refer to the page 5 of the document, we will come to know, or this is a reiteration from the committee, what they mean quality. So the policy believes that the purpose of education is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action. So that indicates that the students who come out of the higher education institutions must be able to question logically and must be able to think logically, and that they may be useful for meaningful and productive employment or economically viable engagement for nation building. And it is not what they carry ahead in terms of some information that has been fed during the process of their college life. It is getting the qualities or attributes of compassion and empathy. And they must be courageous enough to withstand the odds of their life. And at the same time, they must be capable of attaining a resilience whenever they confront with a vulnerability or some difficult situations. And those graduates must have a scientific temper with a creative imagination, and all these without any compromise of their ethical moorings and values. So this statement underscores what the policymakers scripted with a lot of deliberations, looking futuristic. And since the policy document itself, they have mentioned certain things we want to accomplish by 2030, certain things we want to accomplish by 2040, certain things we want to accomplish by 2050. So it is very futuristic. So that shows the farsightedness of the policy makers. These are the 5 foundational pillars of the National Education Policy document. Access with equity, that must ensure the quality of what they are accessing. And when they access the quality education, that must also be affordable, and the institutions that serve, that offer, must be held accountable for that. So on these 5 foundational pillars, the policy document has been built upon: the access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. So our discussion has been organized into 3 aspects from the title itself. It's quality education, accreditation, and teacher development. And we'll be discussing one by one. And at the end of the session, we have a sort of questions to reflect upon. The first topic that we are discussing is quality education. In the page 30 of the policy document, it envisions what they mean quality. It says a quality higher education must enable personal accomplishment and enlightenment. So the graduate must have a feeling of accomplishment. So a couple of years or 3 years or 4 years before, the incumbent walked into the portals of the university, and he or she undergoes certain processes set out and designed by the institution. And it's quite natural after some years, definite years, they have to walk out. When they walk out, definitely there should be a feeling of accomplishment, a personal accomplishment. They must feel that I have got something. And there must be certain level of enlightenment, at least to know themselves what they are. So in that case, higher education institutions has a responsibility to become or to facilitate that master carpentry. So what should be delivered is we are doing an academic carpentry. So there should be some sense of accomplishment with the society. There should be constructive public engagement by the graduates. And at the same time, they must be able to contribute productively to the nation building, to the society. In fact, this definition of quality education by the policymakers envisions what would be the utility from education. It indicates what is the utility from education, what is the outcome from the education. So that's why we focus on outcome-oriented education. The education process must be linked to the outcome. So this quality education to provide or to accomplish or to realize or to make sense with respect to this definition, it must be meaningful and relevant to the stakeholders. The education should be meaningful and it should be relevant to the stakeholders. Most of the times that will fail. It should be flexible enough. That's why it is stated meaningful or relevant to the stakeholders. It should be stakeholder specific. We can have a structured framework to ensure that we are not deviating. But when it is being delivered, the process must be sufficiently flexible enough to rise up to the expectation of the stakeholders as skills. What a teacher of a particular discipline needs as the skill. Profession. Repetitive, maybe sometimes, but we cannot guarantee that meaningful and relevant to the stakeholders. So in this regard, what a quality education will do, we need to prepare the graduates to rise up to the occasion, or prepare the graduates to respond to the current scenario. We have to enable that. Since we have shifted from a transformation has been from a resource-intensive society or resource-intensive economy into a knowledge-intensive society and economy. This 21st century life and profession, it's more of knowledge-intensive. Our society is powered by information. Similarly, our economy also. And this information changes continuously and invariably. Due to the perennial change in the knowledge, the constant skills or the degree that the graduate obtained may not be sufficient enough, acknowledging them or awarding them with some constant grades. So we are now in the fourth industrial revolution that is powered by the presence of information superhighway, the relevance of quality education. Since much of the education now is commercialized, the policy document has noted that, has acknowledged that the graduates are not getting the education at par with the cost of their expenses, taxation of education. So these three ongoing industrial revolution, the Internet of Things, since our life is determined by, or our life is controlled by, fueled by Internet of Things, and rampant commercialization of education. So in these situations, what we need to do to have a quality education is to make a readjustment, revamping the system for re-energizing our graduates. The things change instantaneously. A proper thermostat inbuilt. So can we revamp immediately to the system that requires or warrant? Can we energize ourselves? So this indicates the transferring of life. That's why constructive public engagement is there. That is social responsibility. They must be spiritually aware. That means a faculty pool with self-driven purpose of profession. That is another important aspect with respect to for ensuring high quality holistic educational system. The third one is curriculum. It is very relevant. We should be up to date. Having said up to date, it doesn't simply mean it should be relevant to the current but curriculum should be relevant to the future, since we construct a resource for future, not resource for current. So the curriculum should be designed in such a way that it must be sufficient to transfer the graduates for the future challenges rather than the current challenges, since they will come out and they will start facing independently or on their own to the realities in future, not at present. So that is why it's better to endeavor skill building and character building and make them lifelong learners, or teach them for their life rather than for their job. If they are made for their life, they would be useful for their profession as well. So curriculum should be very vibrant, and that should be subjected to audit by various stakeholders. Input from various stakeholders must be sought before finalizing the curriculum. And it should be finalized in a democratic way. That is the third aspect with respect to a high quality holistic education ecosystem, for building a high quality education system. The fourth element is environment. The total environment that we create in the education system, it must be conducive, it must be peaceful, it must be organic. How can we ensure that? By institutionalizing our institution. Institutionalizing the institution indicates that our institution will run based on its cherished policies, not based on the charismatism of the leaders, or otherwise autocratic policies of the leaders. So if we don't offer a proper environment, quality teachers can be spoiled, curriculum can be rotten, and students can be spoiled. So the environment, we need to have a clean and healthy environment. The environment must be clean. It should not be contaminated. It should not be polluted. The clean environment. We know if we are exposed to polluted environment, we will have a choking feeling, choking sensation. And fifth one is sustainability. The element of environment reminds us it is something supposed to be sustainable. So sustainability indicates that our quality must be enduring. Quality must be long-term. Our quality consciousness is not only for auditing by some accreditation agency. It should be, quality consciousness should be long-term. Otherwise, we speak quality only when at the time of auditing. File is ready, everything is in records. After the auditing, everything is forgotten. We'll go back to our old system. That is not sustainable. It should be perennial, it should be enduring, it should be constant, it should be a constant endeavor. That's why we say that quality or excellence is not an act, it's a habit. And the last one, even though this is mentioned as last, it has overarching significance with respect to creating a quality education ecosystem, that is governance. I have co-authored a paper on governance system, governance in higher education system. So this is essential. This governance should be self-driven. It should not be an externally coerced one. Governance, it should be process-driven, not mandate. So how can we ensure that, how can we identify that good governance prevails in an education system? Rarely your stakeholders will point fingers to us when we have a good governance system. So we don't give an opportunity for our stakeholders to point fingers by questioning us when we have a good governance system. So these 6 aspects: inclusive access to education, ensuring the quality of teachers, refurbished and dynamic design curriculum, clean environment, sustainability and governance aspects. Let's move on to the second aspect, accreditation. So accreditation is a process of ensuring the prevalence of quality. That's why it is often said it's a verified yardstick of quality. We are fortunate enough, we means me and the director of NITE Institute of Management, KSL Institute of Management, Dr. Shankharan. He has been invited to contribute a policy document for the new education policy with respect to accreditation by one of the members, Dr. M.K. Sridharan. So Dr. Shankharan invited me to collaborate in scripting the accreditation note, and we submitted an accreditation guideline for accreditation, so that I'm going to present it here with respect to accreditation. What can be an accreditation sector, accreditation format for Indian higher education system? Accreditation, I think Shankharan sir is listening to me at present. This accreditation system reflects upon the internal processes and procedures. So it will frequently, that's why the accreditation process reminds us that there should be a regular process. There should be, we have internal auditors. In any institute, we have internal auditors. It's an internal process and procedures. So it frequently reminds us that whether the process and procedures that follow in delivering what we are expected to do, meeting the quality, and at the same time, even though it is a proof of adherence to regulatory compliances, it's far more beyond that. It is an endorsement of performance excellence and governance. So accreditation is essential. to ensure the sublime aspect of higher education. This is excellent performance and governance system. We have to perform continuously in an excellent way. That means over and above what is far more required. So we have identified, when at the outset of our policy notes, we have identified two difficulties, two vices of the country's higher education system. One is we have a publicly funded and private funded institutes in India, universities in India. And the majority of publicly funded institutions, they do not run their business in an efficient way, in the spirit of efficiency, merit, capacity, rigor, and a progressive outlook. Majority of the publicly funded institutions. Since they are basking under the permanency or tenure of their employment, and their employment is, after the declaration of probation, unquestionable, then what is there to motivate you to perform in a better manner, since they do not undertake the self-challenge? This is the one difficulty of publicly funded institutions. At the same time, there will be an overwhelming presence of profiteering private entities ever since the globalization. Since government has been progressively receding from providing education through public funded way. So that has thrown open an opportunity for private entities to step forward. And good number of private entities are profiteering, since they consider this provision of education as a lucrative opportunity for profit making. These are the two nagging problems of Indian higher education system that we have mentioned in the policy note. So, as per the vision of NEP 2020, the accreditation should be, or they make it very light but tight. I have borrowed these words from the policy document, light but tight. The light means they will reduce the complexity of the accreditation system. There may not be multiple agencies, multiple reporting system. We know that when the command mechanism will not work when we have multiple agencies in the scaler. But at the same time, there may not be any compromise. The policy document has identified that our current accreditation system is incapable of closing down such institutes which are not delivering service to the society. The policy document has noted it. So that is why, to correct that, this accreditation system should be tight, no compromise for lawbreakers. At the same time, it ensures maximum autonomy and freedom to the institutions. So by offering autonomy and freedom, the institutions would be provided empowerment, complete empowerment to decide to stick on what they are best at. Since the three types of organizations in the long term, as per the policy vision, one is research intensive universities, teaching intensive universities, and autonomous degree granting institutions. These are going to be the institutional structure of higher education in future as per the policy document. So a particular institution can decide that they have the autonomy and they have the freedom to opt any one of these categories, whether a particular institution want to be highly research oriented and whether they want to be delivering the education through, they want to be acknowledged and they want to be acclaimed teaching institutions. So they have the freedom, autonomy and freedom. And when they opt for something, and at the same time, this can be reviewed frequently. For example, a particular teaching, a particular organization, particular university wanted to be teaching organizations, and of late, if they find that they have a very good capability for research organizations as well, they can move on. They can move on to research organizations. So they can be acknowledged like that. They can get accredited in that level. So in that case, accreditation is also flexible. So sufficient autonomy and freedom that new education policy confers. And it wants, or it ensures, proper governance, effective governance and leadership. Governance and leadership are essential. Proper governance and leadership are essential. Since the leadership being all-encompassing command, if that leadership is not a visionary leadership, everything can get spoiled. So that is why education policy document wanted to ensure that the leadership should be transformational. The leadership should be democratic. And the leadership must take the institutions in a very proper, robust, self-governed way. That's why they wanted to have, institution can opt appropriately different format and relevant accreditation, whether we want to be accredited as teaching or research or degree granting autonomous institutes. So here, government wants to, the policy document wants to do away with the affiliation system. So every institute is expected to provide, draft and provide, publicize an institutional development plan. And at the same time, it envisions proper representation of students in university decision-making, institutional level decision-making, student participation. And there should be a board of governance at the institution level. Every institute must have a board of governance. So the members of that body must consist of the responsible people from the institute as well as from outside industry and academia. And the accreditation system, as per the new education policy, should be overseen by a meta accreditation agency like National Accreditation Authority. So that's why it's moving to a simple, single, unique all encompassing. This is the comprehensive supervisory body of all accreditation system in India. So we are going to lose this multiple layers of or multiple disciplinary accreditation agencies. So the ultimate aim of this accreditation system that was promised by the new education system is to ensure institutional autonomy, invariably innovation and pursuit of excellence. Here are our conceptualization or our conceptual design, conceptual note regarding the policy. We proposed a dual institutional structure for accreditation system in India. One, a meta accreditation body. In fact, we named it as Higher Education Accreditation Council of India. And we proposed functional bodies as well. These functional bodies we call accreditation agencies. These accreditation agencies would be identified by the meta accreditation body, that is Higher Education Accreditation Council of India. And they will notify the need of accreditation agencies, and these accreditation agencies would be given permission to function for 5 years or 10 years, and their tenure will be renewed based on their performance. And these are all independent autonomous bodies, and they will conduct two-tier accreditation system, two type of accreditation system. That is our proposal. In the two-tier accreditation system, it will be institutional level and programmatic level. We have proposed in the document the two types of accreditation system would be desirable. One is institutional level and programmatic level. So in institutional level, the focus must include the financial aspects, governance framework of the institutions, assessment of sustainability issues, the triple bottom line accounting, that is people, planet, and profit, how they have addressed all these things, the building codes, landscaping codes, energy audits of the institute, social outreach by the institute, that is how relevant are they for the society, the professional collegiality, that is how they facilitate the cooperation among the faculty members, and this intra-institutional collaboration as well as inter-institutional collaborations, development, inclusivity. These are all the things that the accreditation agencies can look into when they, and many more parameters can also be there depending on what the accreditation agency feel is sufficient for an institutional level audit. So with respect to the programmatic level, the focus would be on the quality of educational programs they offer, student orientation, curricular innovations, transdisciplinary level of the degree of transdisciplinarity, flexibility towards students in administration matters, and multi-stakeholderism, knowledge and research orientation. This can be with respect to the programmatic level, the functional bodies, the accreditation agencies can look into. This were the gist of our suggestion to the policy guidelines. So how can accreditation ensure quality education? We can ensure, since we have already mentioned, accreditation is a yardstick of quality assurance. But it is not simply quality assurance. I personally believe it should be quality improvement. It should be a yardstick of quality improvement, not simply assurance, since assurance is very stagnant one. If it would be aspirational, it would be dynamic, it would be future-oriented when it is improvement. So an accreditation system will ensure quality education when it is purpose-driven. It is goal-oriented. It is self-driven, that is purpose-driven. That means it must have a focus, set out vision and mission and work to accomplish that, the purpose-driven. And should be process-oriented rather than dictated from outside. It should be internally process-oriented. And self-ordered, that is self-disciplined, internally disciplined, self-disciplined, self-ordered. Then only it will ensure quality. Otherwise, it will not ensure quality. If it is based on the dictates, mandates of an outside agency, so we will be quality conscious only when they are available. But we will always be quality conscious when it is purpose-driven. That is when we feel that we have a genuine purpose to do, or an important purpose, serious purpose to do. And it is process-oriented. That is, process-oriented means it would be the practice of life. That is, it will become part and parcel of routine. That will be disciplined way, self-ordered. And accreditation process must be a collegial process. It must be a collegial process. So it must come from the collaboration of the faculty members, and it must be incremental. Most important, it must be incremental. And directed by single command. That is, multiple agencies will create confusion, so it should be directed by single command. And there should be some industry orientation, and it must be normative rather than positive. For example, when we design the quality of education, we must always think what would be or what should be, rather than what is. So then there is much normativity into that one, the normative principles. That's what ought to be, we have to do. That we have to think, rather than what we are doing. Yes, meaningfulness to life and profession. Another one, there should be groundbreaking research. So when we have a groundbreaking research, we will conduct research just to challenge or question the status quo. So we need to have a research, we need to have investigations, we need to have scholarly inquiries to challenge the status quo. So that's why then it must create a collaborative understanding. It should not be person-oriented. It should not be group-oriented. They should facilitate a collaborative understanding. That is, everyone in the organization must know what is quality and what we are doing. That's why nowadays organizations tell, keep this vision and mission wherever it is possible in the entire organizations, even the employees' resting area, then their offices, their work site, and everything. It's every time they must know that what we are expected to do. It's a create a collective understanding. And at the same time, it's a collective understanding of unique accomplishments and aspirations. So these are the different ways to ensure how we can ensure the accreditation that will culminate into quality, that will ensure quality. So the third aspect and the last aspect of our talk today is teacher development. I'm aware that I have only 15 minutes permitted in the session. Yes, the teachers are the gatekeepers of the society. So in that regard, teacher development is essential. Having said the collegiality, the entire governance system in an education institution must be accomplished through collegial cooperation, since teachers are expected to implement what the leaders or accreditation bodies are setting forward. So in that case, teacher development is an indispensable component of quality education. So they must be sufficiently motivated, they must be energized, and they must be capable of discharging their duties, delivering their duties. And there must be ample empowerment and autonomy then only we can ensure best results. We can have best brains. We can have best brains in our institution, best minds in our institution. But if they are not properly empowered, empowerment, the degree of empowerment can be understood from the opportunities of the stakeholders to point questions or to raise questions or to ask reasons, and at the same time autonomy. If they are changed, if they are asked to do something and at the same time if you are chaining them, how can they extract best results? We can ask our faculty members to deliver the lessons or the curriculum in a better way, but the institution, are they facilitating it? Whether the institution provides. So that is why we need to have a high quality institutional leadership. For teacher development, we need to have a high quality institutional leadership. That leadership must be felt the sole source of dependence to accomplish their task. It's necessary to ensure merit-based promotion and recruitment and promotion, not only promotion, recruitment as well. The recruitment and promotion must be merit-based. It should not be based on the whims and fancies of certain institutional leadership or some forces from outside. And there should be standardized training programs for that one. That, in fact, UGC and All India Institute of Council for Technical Education, they are doing. ACT is also doing for the last 1 year in online platforms, standardized training programs for enhancing the capability of teachers, competency of teachers. And the education policy has decided to reorient the PhD programs for making the future teachers. And at the same time, a new proposal is with respect to the National Research Foundation. And then to ensure the teacher development, we need to break the silos and comfort zones of the faculty members. So the teacher, then only the teacher development will happen. So that's why I mentioned earlier the complacency of the faculty members, accomplishment, the feeling of satisfactory feeling of accomplishment, what we have accomplished, enough, there is no growth as. So, but the growth oriented, the faculty members will be growth oriented. So whether the institution, if the institution and its leadership are forward looking, definitely everything else in the institution can be cleansed. So then harmonize personal growth with the social ethics that the institution must ensure. So the facilitation is very important for teacher development. So this, I have taken it from the page 46 of the national policy document. All education institutions in India must aim to become independent, self-governing institutions pursuing innovation and excellence through sustainable measures that ensure the leadership of the highest quality and promotes a culture of excellence. So the leadership has been underscored, the policy document also, the leadership of the highest quality and promotes a culture of excellence. So that is why the institute ambience, the environment, and the leadership can create a culture of excellence in the organizations. So I have a group of questions. This is for a reflection for the participants the questions for reflection on quality education. Based on each and every participant's mindfulness and whims and fancies, you can find the answer for that. Whether the quality education is subjective or objective. If it is subjective, we say that it is more of a subjective sense. It is said that quality education or quality, the concept of quality is in the eye of the beholder. It is in the eyes of the beholder. That is, it is not constant. It is not concrete. It is an abstract idea. Quality is an abstract idea. But we try to understand and try to define that abstract idea to make it meaningful and relevant, understandable. What is our operation definition of quality education? How we define it, how we perceive it, how we understand it. Our individual definition, our personal definition. Is it substantive or symbolic? Is it worthwhile? Or is it meaningful? Or just as a ritual? Quality consciousness as a ritual, as a practice of ritual. Is it a stagnant disposition or an enduring process of improvement? Is it additive and incremental? Is it a response to regulatory mandates or a self-driven autonomous process wherein there is much scope for proactiveness, not reactiveness? So the majority of the institutions, their quality conscious is as reaction or response to the mandates or the stipulations, not proactive. Again, isomorphic efforts work. Whether quality conscience, quality exercise or endeavor is an isomorphic process. Who must bell the cat? That is, who are responsible for that. Is it an assurance or improvement? Is it sporadic or perennial? Is it sporadic, that is most only frequent sometimes when it is required after 6 months or every 6 months or every 3 months or every 1 year when the auditing takes place, we need to be ready for an answer during that time? Or it's a perennial thing? Is it an act or habit? Then it's a process making sense. Is its process making sense? Whether when we say we are in the journey of quality education, whether the people around us can make some sense out of it. So this is about the presentation or my talk. It's 7 minutes to complete to 12 o'clock. So this is the reference that I have utilized for preparing this document. So if the participants want to have an interaction, we can have it till the organizers permit both of us.
Such an exhaustive lecture, right from giving us the Harvey and Green's conceptualization of education, and also defining about quality concerns from Van Damme's few points, and also on holistic approach, which I like the most, especially on the quality of the teacher, the curriculum, the environment, sustainability, governance, and inclusiveness. And I feel these are the few points which we should be targeting upon to improve. Sir, I do have one question. Most of us do take the feedbacks. How do we make these feedbacks as a constructive phenomenon? you know that, most of the time, most of the people would take it in the other way around. How do we make it more, to say constructive amongst ourselves, amongst the faculty, amongst the students, also among the various stakeholders like the management? I know it's a tricky question for you, but how do we make, I feel, that is the most important point where we are lacking.
It's great. I will introspect. Okay, I will reflect upon it, since we also collect a feedback after every semester. Okay. So I will access my feedback only after the examination, not prior to that. Since I want to be very objective when I evaluate my scripts, that is why I will access only that. And I will go through the comments of the students very seriously. And I will put into practice in the next batch. And I take every comment as constructive, even though they mention that, since sometimes students mention you are strict and you don't permit us into the class even 5 minutes or 2 minutes late. That itself shows their lack of duty consciousness. Even though I am 5 minutes late, why don't you allow me to the class? I don't allow. Since I used to tell my students, I am the guest here and you are the host. And usually the host must be seated when the guest enters. So you must be here when I enter. So don't give an opportunity to welcome you. I used to tell, that is why I don't allow them to enter. And I use different types of pedagogical methods in every year. I use different innovative pedagogical method as well. And I change that also. For example, most of the times I begin my class with a thought based on the topic of that day. I present a thought before them. And I will ask 2-3 students to speak. Sometimes that conversation may take 10 minutes, 12 minutes or something. In one of the years, maybe 3 or 4 years before, in one batch, students mentioned, I am wasting time for 10 minutes. 1 or 2 students mentioned like that one, but majority of the students mentioned that that was very much refreshing. That was very much refreshing. So whether we will stay with that or endorse that 2 students has comment or majority of the students has comment. I take constructively. Definitely I take constructively. I don't chide them back if they mention something like, see, for example, the feedback itself is their reflection. They have their own right to give the feedback. And we have our own right to take it very positively. And at the same time, when we give them back, or if we take revenge upon, definitely we are not faculty members. We must take as faculty members whatever comment, whatever feedback the student gives us constructively, since we are parents, or otherwise we are elder to them. So we have to accommodate and we have to facilitate them to know the world better through our wisdom and our enlightenment. That is my policy, since I take the feedback very seriously. That's why I read it after that. And sometimes I discuss the feedback. If I teach the students in the next semester, I discuss these issues with my students. Yeah, I'm very happy that I see this one. And I have been branded like Hilter or something, like I used to tell the students. But we don't know that who made that comment, but at least 1 or 2, 3 comments, if it is there, just to create some vibes in them, I used to disclose also. So don't feel bad about the feedback, since we have given freedom to them. We have given freedom to them to give their comment. So embrace it. So take it, it's a positive side. That is my answer to that one. That is my strategy. I do it.
It's a very good question. It's a tricky question. In fact, you.
Thank you, sir. Jesli, you can go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah. Any other
So
question?
I think I have some, I'm sorry if I have interrupted. Jesli, raise the hand. You can go ahead and ask the question.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
maybe connection.
I think
connection problem maybe there. Otherwise, we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They can put in the chat box also. Yeah, I think one chat box, one question is there. I think. Okay. Kindly provide your feedback. Is okay. Chat box. Okay. I think the participants don't have any questions.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening us thoroughly about the quality education, accreditation, and teacher development. Karnataka being the first state to implement the policy, we are privileged to have you today for educating us who are academicians of the state. I'm sure that this webinar has benefited each and every one of us so as to implement this new reform of education in our institution also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity conferred, and especially thanks to Dr. Pasha for identifying me and trusted me.
Yes, sir. So it was okay. So it was an excellent session, sir. I think most of them have enjoyed. I think I had one question they had put it. How do we increase the spiritual awareness? I think that's a question they have in chat box.
Yeah. So will you explain how to create a spiritual awareness in that one?
Awareness. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think
So
that is also.
Yes. See, for example, the spiritual awareness as an economic student, I may say that it's a enlightenment selfishness. Okay. Enlightenment selfishness. There is a terminology in economics. We say that everyone is selfish or self-centered. But when we become self-centered, are we doing any harm to others as well? If we don't do harm to others, we have all the right to be self-centered. And the spiritual awareness gives or reminds us that one. That is, we should not and we do not harm others. In fact, that is the definition of spirituality. So we would be very much accommodative. A person, a student or a person with a higher education, that person must be very much open-minded and open to criticisms, and they must have a very good concern for their peers or their neighbors or the brethren. So we call it the Indian system or belief of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, that is, everyone belongs to this world. And when we don't have the spiritual awareness, we think that we are all or I am in a Robinson Crusoe island. So since in fact we must identify that we are none is in Robinson Crusoe island, since we have people along with us. Yeah, we have a question: will the shift from teacher-centric to student-centric learning hamper the quality of education as the students have an upper hand and the power ratio is reversed? Yeah, it's a very interesting question, whether it is the student-centric, so whether the learning system will hamper the quality of education of the students. See, that's why I mentioned earlier, when we identify the students as input, we must ensure that we are identifying or we are procuring good resources for the education. Our resources must be good enough to be converted into nice products. So in that one, when the students are amply civilized and the students are very much aspirational, definitely we can hand over the power to them. And the student-centric can have multiple dimensions. So we need not leave completely to the student, since with respect to student-centric teaching, many advocates or protagonists mentioned that we can create a symphony in confusion. For example, when we know that when we enable the students to perform their own or otherwise to do their own in the classrooms, and we hand over the mic to them, it will be totally difficult. We cannot control them. But how can we ensure by giving them the upper hand? As it is mentioned, upper hand is there. So even though they can be given upper hand, if the teacher finds they are sufficiently mature enough. Otherwise, we must spend time to ensure or instill some maturity in them. So prior to that, don't give. So like that, we learn driving. So first, we learn the basic lessons, then learners, those person who got the license must have a support system for some time. These are all ensuring that whether we are mature enough to handle a vehicle alone. Like that, we also must do as teachers. So rather than, see, for example, we have an order that we have to, and from next semester onwards or next year onwards, our teaching must be student-centric, not teacher-centric. And you just go as a facilitator or something like. So if we hand over the mic to the students, if we find that it is a total cacophony, it's not creating any harmony in the classroom, definitely the teacher has a role, since the teacher must be the master of the class. Definitely. You can facilitate the students, but must ensure at the same time the power ratio should not be reversed. Otherwise, the learning will not happen. Okay, so all these things, this new concept and everything, the student-centric and students are the leaders or something like, these are all the contributions of Western thoughts. But the Western thoughts, generally these Western thoughts are only for short term, not for long term. But that is quite different from the Indian educational ethos. Since I strongly propagate that, I belong to the lineage of the Indian tutelage. So wherein the guru is the leader. But so that's why we should not hand over the complete freedom, supreme freedom to the students. We have to hand over the weapon to the learner when the teacher understands that they can use the weapon properly. Otherwise, we have ample instances in our epics. If you don't have wisdom and if you have a knowledge, what will happen? Not only the epics, we have a day-to-day. When we read the newspapers or we watch a TV, we come to know that the people with knowledge but no wisdom at all. So it will be dangerous to the society. I think I answered the question. Answer was a little lengthy. Question was very complicated, that's why. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks to all participants for attending. Hope to see you all for the upcoming workshop. Thank you all. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity once again.
you.